Hello, I want to welcome everyone to the third episode of the Everyone Hates the Commissioner podcast. And I am joined by Stu today. Stu, how's it
How's
going?
it going? Happy to be here. I
How's
tried
your
to get on
weekend?
last week, but
Yeah.
work schedule was a little crazy, so I'm excited to be here. But yeah, week was good. How was yours?
Pretty good. It was busy. Actually, I have to send a shout out to our friend Jake, and he's in our league. He got married yesterday, so congratulations to him. And he'll be on in a couple weeks before he takes off for his honeymoon. I don't really remember where
Nice.
he's going, but yeah. So what else you got planned for the weekend? Anything fun?
Probably go to the Food Trucks Fest tonight. Probably hopefully watch Notre Dame beat UNC. Notre Dame
Yeah.
looks horrible this year,
Yeah.
but God bless the Irish. And then the Badgers are playing Ohio State. They're 19.5-point dogs.
I know. I saw that. Who do you
That's
think's going to win that game?
That's a
Well,
big yikes. I
do
mean,
you think
you're
they're going to cover at least?
Notre Dame was 16.5-point dogs to Ohio State. They lost by 11. They kept it close through the third quarter. It's all just going to be if the Badgers can hold onto the ball and keep the ball out of CJ Stroud's hands. You know, if they need to give Braylon the ball 35 times to just keep the clock tick, 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 you know, that's the way you're going to beat him. I mean, like, otherwise, Stroud's going to have a field day because the Badgers, this is the problem. They don't have the athletes to match up with those guys on the perimeter.
Yep.
I mean, look at the guys that Ohio State have been pumping out. Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson. Those are some boys. And CJ Stroud could be the number one player taken in our rookie draft.
Maybe.
Next May. So, or late April, whenever we're doing it, but he could be, who knows? So
Yeah.
it's fun to watch though.
Yeah. Cool. So where are you from and what do you do for work?
I'm from Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, born and raised in the SAC. Went to school in Milwaukee for a little bit, and now I work for Kohler Company, and I'm the tennis director for their 5-star fitness facility there called Sports Core. So I basically just run a tennis department. I've got 13 people that report to me, and I teach some of the top juniors in the state of Wisconsin. So That's what I do. Yeah.
Well, hey, there's a name drop for Kohler, so I hope that you get a nice bonus on your next check.
Yeah, no shit. I'm repping a sweatshirt. I got my hat on. I got all.
All right. So what is your and maybe you have one with you. What's your drink of choice right now, Stuart?
Well, as I was slamming coffee in the first 8 minutes of this, I woke up this morning a little violently hungover. I had to do some work with my father-in-law, but it's never too early to crack open a bush.
That's right.
So,
And
cheers to the podcast.
And it is maybe a little early on our Saturday, but I am going to keep our tradition going, and I've got myself a glass of Basil Hayden's because
Let her rip.
it won't be long before they're going to be sending cases of this stuff to the house.
Oh,
so
God.
Yep, that's the plan.
Shout out Basil Hayden's.
Yeah.
Find us.
Yeah. So what's your fantasy team name, and what kind of situation are you in right now?
Well, I'm the kind of guy, like, stagnation is the worst life model possible. And it's an even worse fantasy football model possible. So, you know, like, I'll change my name 3 or 4 times a year. I'll trade 3 times in a week. I'll trade 3 times after the draft before the regular season starts. You know, if it doesn't feel good, I'm not there. If it feels good, I'll do it. You know, I was talking to Aaron Brose this morning, and he's got Rashad Penny on both of his fantasy football teams, and he said it just felt right. So
yeah,
I guess I just knew it felt right. So my fantasy football team right now's name is Fuck the Fumble Rule. Sorry, Nick. For those of you who don't know, I beat Brian Glazinski last week by 0.96 points after Monday night. He had Jalen Hurts and Justin Jefferson playing on Monday night, and I had my boy and he had the Buffalo Bills defense. I was leading by about 60 points going into Monday. And I had my boy Derrick Henry, and he kind of shit the bed. So
yes, he did.
And then so I concluded Monday night with a 0.96 victory. And Wednesday night I get home from work. Cheyenne and I are, my wife are talking fantasy football for this upcoming week, and we're looking at her waivers, and I pull up the app, and I see I'm playing the big man Dan, and my record says 0-2. And on Monday night, it said 1-1. So I say, excuse me? And I go, and everybody who's in our fantasy football chat sees I'm irate. I lose by 0.04 points and then I do digging in all the other leagues that I participate in. There's a different rule in this league where a fumble lost. So I'm in ESPN fantasy football leagues. A fumble lost is -1 point. In our league, a fumble lost where you lose possession is -2 points. Yep. And a fumble where your team still possesses the ball is -1 points. They had a stat correction on Deebo Samuel. Unfortunately, I was the first stat correction of the year in our league. Which is just...
Well, at least that was noticed, right?
Oh yeah,
and it
could have went unnoticed.
And it was a big one too. It's not. I mean, if there probably was a correction after the first week, but again, it didn't matter. But this one mattered big time.
This was detrimental.
Yeah,
detrimental.
Yeah,
0-2 to start off our first dynasty year. Not a great feeling.
Nope.
Love my team. I think I'm set up to win sooner rather than later.
Yep.
Derrick Henry's laid an egg for me. Tyreek Hill looks good. Kyler Murray looks good. Lenny Fournette, playoff Lenny. Everybody hates Lenny, but Lenny's doing okay. They say he's going to have a big game this week against the Packers. They're going to feed him. But yeah, I mean, I feel good about it. I just traded for Darren Waller this week. I didn't like the status of where Alvin Kamara was with just being dinged up and then looming suspension next year. Yep. So I wanted to get younger. I was starting Austin Hooper at tight end, and he got me about 7 points collective over the first 2 weeks. So needed to make a move, and I was happy with it.
So we'll discuss those moves, the large amount of moves that you've made.
I think 5 already.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm 0-2, and it hurts because, setting this league up and bringing all my friends together, it hurts that I'm down at the bottom with, I think, points scored and the record. It's unfortunate, but so what going into, your team is changed drastically, like you said, but what was kind of your strategy going into the draft? This is my first year that I've ever been in a full PPR league. Yep. So religiously in the past, I've always went RBU, like heavy running back. So after the draft, I was sitting at just super high level here. I was Russell Wilson, Derrick Henry, Leonard Fournette, Nick Chubb, DJ Moore, and Deontay Johnson, and TJ Hawkinson. That was like my core right there. And I hated where I was at with receiver. I was a little bit leery about what the Cleveland Browns were going to look like. So I ended up, completely reshaping my team that night at your house. I think the over-under on trades was 2.5, and I made all 3 of them. I owe you $10 for that, by the way.
But so now, I think absolutely biggest mistake was I could have shipped either of my other 2 running backs, and I shipped Nick Chubb. And I know, Dan, God bless you, but I'm going to beat your ass this week. And he's got Nick Chubb. So, it's that one stings, but I got a lot better receiver. I'm young with Deebo. I'm young with Tyreek Hill, and I think they're both I think Deebo's in a better situation with his relationship with Jimmy G at quarterback than that would have built with Trey Lance. But, and I think Tyreek's in a great situation with Mike McDaniels and Tua Tagovailoa. So, Jalen Waddle drawing a lot of attention to the other side of the field too. So that's great.
Yeah, I think that he kind of made that public that it was a little tough for him to leave Kansas City, but he definitely went to a really, really good spot. And I think he's going to have a lot of success there for the next few years. Well, and he could you've seen some of these burners where they after they hit 31, 32, they start losing a step, but that guy's so damn fast that
he's not
even if
like,
he loses step, he's still going to be faster than 90% of the people.
Yeah, the thing is with the burners, like I think of guys like, what the hell's this? Will Fuller, who went to Notre Dame. That boy caught deep balls religiously for Notre Dame and for the Texans, but he was a burner, but all he could do was catch the deep ball. I mean, Tyreek is a different kind of burner. I mean,
yeah,
I don't even know if Tyreek's 6 feet tall. He's built like a little Energizer bunny. Like he's Wes Welker, 25 pounds heavier with just jacked.
Yeah.
So, like he can catch every route. He can run the full route tree. You can line him up in the backfield. Hell, he could probably throw a ball if you wanted him to.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, yeah, he's really impressive. Absolutely. Go ahead, Stu.
Enough about me, Nick. How are you feeling about your squad? What's going on? I know you're young, very young, dependent on some young. I mean, you're probably set up for the future, but how you feeling this year, and what are you thinking?
I still believe in production this year. It's kind of hard not to with those receivers. Now with Christian Kirk, clearly the number one guy in Jacksonville, as he should be with the amount of money that they spent on him. But he's, I think, definitely
4 years, 84 mil. That's a lot of cash.
Yeah.
Maybe 3 years. It's a lot of money.
Yep. And him and Trevor Lawrence are hitting it off quick, and that's awesome. I love seeing that. And but I am struggling at the running back position. I think I brought that up with Dan last week, but I'm done running two tight running backs. Sorry, I'm running 4 wide receivers because I'm so stacked there. I mean, even on the bench, there's some younger guys that are up and coming, but I'm running receivers, and I mean, I'm gonna just keep the running backs. I'm gonna hope to get a couple solid, maybe one decent backup, but I'm going to run these receivers and see what happens. But I still believe in production this year, but I don't have, I guess what's really hurting me is the Bengals right now. The Bengals are struggling. And I thought, and it was pretty obvious what the issue was in Cincinnati last year. Well, it's rearing its ugly head once again this year, even after they spent all that money on that offensive line, man. It's bad.
Give me 1 sec. You know what feels really bad about the Cincinnati Bengals? I'll be right back. So, Cincinnati Bengals are winning the Super Bowl. 4 minutes left. Joe Burrow looks great. Joe Mixon looks great. Jamar looks great.
Yep.
I'm as you can tell, I love my sports memorabilia. I got Jonathan Taylor, Derrick Henry, Bo Jackson, Devontae Adams, Paul Hornung, Jordy Nelson, and Giannis Antetokounmpo all signed jerseys. But I win an auction for a Joe Burrow autographed LSU helmet.
Oh, sick!
With 4 minutes left in the Super Bowl when they're winning. And this thing depreciated like a son of a bitch when they lost. So my tangent's over there, but I felt we were talking Joe Burrow, the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, you look at Super Bowl hangovers. I mean, it's real, with how young they were. That core is so young. I think you look at Joe Mixon, he's easily their oldest core player. I think he's 26 years old. Joe Burrow, coming off an offseason surgery, didn't have really a mini camp, didn't really have a training camp. I mean, look at the guys that he has. I mean, even just like Hayden Hurst, Hayden Hurst is going to have a really nice year for them.
Yeah, he is.
I think it's just going to take time. I think that they've just flat out played poorly, like if they would have played well and lost, I'd be like, I don't know, but they just haven't played well,
Yeah. And I think the Rams exposed them in the second half of that Super Bowl that they can't handle that rush right up front. Maybe it's not necessarily on the outside, but when you start putting some pressure in the middle of that offensive line, man, they struggle bad. And Joe Burrow, he's a hell of a thrower of the football, but he's not the most agile guy, and he's you can make it work. I mean, look at Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, but he needs a little more help on that offensive line to keep him on his feet, because it doesn't, I don't care who you are or what team you are, what quarterback you are. You need to have a solid offensive line. And that is.
And the thing is, really, they spent the farm on the offensive line this offseason.
Yeah, which is weird.
And
why
I don't
they're
know if they
struggling
got
so
the
bad.
wrong guys, if it's a different
Yeah.
blocking scheme, if they're playing poorly, if they ran into two really peak performances, they ran into two really tough defensive lines. I don't know, but it doesn't freaking look good, you know?
Yeah.
So we'll see. I'm pulling for them. I really like those guys. I'd love to root for that team moving forward. I mean, they've been historically bad apart from Carson Palmer and but I'm rooting for them, you know.
So we're gonna make a little transition here, and I think we're gonna start off with what's gonna be the most popular segment on this podcast. Okay, with our best friend Obi. So I'm gonna have our guys behind the scenes, you know, pull up that clip up of what. And grant, we're a few days late, but let's see what Obi's pick was on Thursday night.
Let's see it, Obes.
Nick, can you enable sharing, please?
Yes. Here we go. One of those there you go. Just another one of those hiccups we're working through.
Let's see it, Obes.
Maybe screen. Might have to unmute you.
There's the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Hello, everyone.
There we go.
Week 3 of Obi's picks. We've upgraded a little bit since last week. We now have mini helmets. And we have a divisional this week on Thursday night between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cleveland Browns. All right, Obi, let's see who you got. Come here. Come on. Come on.
Oh, he's eyeing up the Browns. Oh, transition to the Steelers. No. Oh.
Pittsburgh Steelers this week. What do you guys think?
Oh, man. I thought he was eyeing up the Browns there.
Yeah.
Oh.
So we did that on Wednesday night, and well, unfortunately, didn't work out for Obi.
Is that Obi's first loss of the year?
No, he lost last week, unfortunately.
Oh,
but there we go.
0 for
There's
2 in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I know. There's the current record, and we'll have a good one next week on Thursday night. You can bring that up. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But it's unfortunate. You know, I really want to put my money on Obi a little bit more, but right now it's not looking too good for him. So tell me, what was your favorite game to watch last weekend?
Man, oh man. I think if you asked 100 people, 98 of them would say the Dolphins and Ravens.
Yeah.
The Dolphins and Ravens was awesome. We were at my buddy Hunter's house, and we were tuning in. We were watching Red Zone on one TV. We had a game going on the other TV, and what they did in the fourth quarter there was like astronomical. I mean, I had Jalen Waddle in one of my other leagues. I had Tyreek Hill in the other one of my leagues. My phone's going nuts. Jalen Waddle touchdown, Tyreek touchdown. I was just like, holy shit, it's looking really good for me. Lamar's awesome. I would kill to have him in fantasy. He's so freaking good. I think he's going to get paid. Whether the Ravens, I don't know what their deal is with not paying him, but he's going to get paid. But also that Jets-Browns game was electric too. Yes. I mean, they scored 14 points in a minute and 55 seconds. That was wild. Garrett Wilson kind of with his coming out party. Is Joe Flacco good? I don't know. He Mr. Elite from back in the day. He's had 2 pretty good games to start out the year. So we'll see. That Jets team's up and coming. They got Breece Hall that's young and Michael Carter. Yeah, they're good. And whatchamacallit, former first-round pick from Western Michigan, Corey Davis. He got into the action a little bit, and he's been quiet for a couple of years, but he had a nice game. So yeah, both those are super exciting. How about you?
Yeah, actually, I want to talk about that. That was one of the notes that I made. watching football that day was those Jets rookies, dude. I know it's early, but I think it's pretty clear that they just hit it on those draft picks with Garrett Wilson, Brees Hall, Sauce. They love Sauce Gardner there.
Sauce is good.
And then I haven't heard a ton about that defensive end that they took at the first round. But it's pretty evident that Garrett Wilson is the number one guy on the Jets. I know he was going to be I thought it was going to be a slower transition. I thought he was going to be the number one guy, like maybe midway through the season, but it was quick. I mean, and not to discredit Elijah Moore, because he's, I think, a very good football player as well. But Garrett Wilson is clearly the number one guy there with 14 targets last week. And hopefully that, since I do have Garrett Wilson, he was my first round pick in our rookie draft. I hope that when Zach Wilson comes back, he continues to build that chemistry with him, as clearly Joe Flacco has. I mean, Joe Flacco clearly loves the guy in those first couple of weeks, and they have one more week together before it sounds like Zach Wilson's going to be back in week 4. But yeah, those Jets rookies, I think, man, they got a really, really good foundation there on offense. And if Zach Wilson turns out to be what they think he is, that offense is going to be really interesting to watch. And
I'd like to see them run the ball a little bit more. They're going to play in a lot of cold weather. I think they need to give Brees Hall the ball more. Michael Carter's great, but he's kind of that transition filler guy. I mean, I think he's similar. I think he's better. I kind of like how the Packers were with Jamal Williams for a little bit, like guy they'd give the ball. I think he's more of that complimentary back, and they should give Brees the ball here. We'll see what happens. I got Brees in 2 fantasy leagues, and he's all right. But
well, for right now, I think he's going to be the number one guy, probably the feature back there. But it's also not a bad thing to have a player like Michael Carter.
Oh, absolutely not.
That's a really good thing to have, because
I think complimentary backs are huge in the NFL.
Yes.
This isn't that one trick pony anymore. You got a couple situations where Saquon's the guy, McCaffrey's the guy, Dalvin Cook, Alexander Mattison gets carries, Derrick Henry's the guy, but even like a great offense, like a great player like Austin Eckler, like you're seeing Joshua Kelly in the backfield, like a lot of teams I think they're starting to understand that 2 running back scheme. You look at the Cleveland Browns, they look great. So
this is I just thought of this. So this will be off the top of your head, but who would be in your time? And I know we're not that old, but we're old enough to know a decent amount of football. Who would be your best running back combination that you can remember in our time? So if you can't think of one, I know I didn't prepare you for this one, but if it just kind of came across my head. But is there any on the top of your head that you can remember?
It's a really weird one just came to my head. First, I'm going to touch on this. I thought you were going to say best running back, and I was going to go LT all day, baby. LT. I loved watching LT. AP was great, but LT. But a really interesting tandem came to my mind. They weren't the most statistically effective, but Ahmad Bradshaw and Brandon Jacobs, when they were on the New York Giants, those teams were spectacular based on that. Those guys their defense was so good, but they kept their offense on the field long enough where that defense could stay consistently fresh. That's a really good one at the bottom there. I'm a little young for that. But no, that's good. And you look at, what Cleveland has is really special. I think what Green Bay has is going to be really special, but I'm not sure why my sister, rough luck with injuries in fantasy football. Shout out to you. But she's a diehard Giants fan, and we watched a lot of Giants football growing up, and those 2 were the first 2 that jumped in my head.
So that's interesting. I probably wouldn't have thought about them, but what came to my mind right away was Chris Johnson and Lendell White. You got lightning in a bottle, and you got some thunder there, man. And that was fun to watch too. And I know they weren't there together a bunch, because they kind of they transitioned to just giving Chris Johnson the ball pretty much every time, which they should have.
It
But
panned out for him.
yeah,
He had a good career.
Yeah, but that year or two that they were together, that was a lot of fun to watch, man. Like that was a really good defense they had in Tennessee at the time. And what do you do? What do you do when you have somebody that fast on the outside and then you want to hand it up to a 240-pound back in the backfield? But
like Lendo White and Reggie Bush back in the day, they kind of Lendo White found himself in
same
like
thing.
very, very similar situations with Reggie
Right.
Bush and Chris Johnson, just kind of being that complimentary back. But White was a beast, you know, like if he got his chance as a single guy when he was young and healthy in the right offense, he probably would have been a Pro Bowler, you know, like coulda, shoulda, woulda, obviously, but I mean, that's a good take. You know, I didn't think of that. I thought more of the scheme wise. I like my boys from the Giants, but that's a great tandem right there that you just rifled off at the top of your head.
So going back to these trades, Stu, I want to know, and maybe you touched on it a little bit, but what the fuck was going on in your head when you keep making all of these trades? Just all of them, maybe not one in particular, but it's just, you're just rattling them off. It's like I feel like every week that there's a Stuart Nett trade.
Tua Tagovailoa's brother just got hurt for Maryland. That's not good, but okay, back to this. Cody Jansen, shout out Cody. He's in our fantasy league. His team's not looking great, but love you, Cody. He introduced me to fantasy football to where I really fell in love with it. And he kind of started our league, the league before this one, and Cody's in this league now, like I said. And I've always been a trader. I've always been a trader. You know, like my wife hates change. God, I welcome it, you know, especially in fantasy football. You know, so I'm a big believer that if I open up the app and I don't like what I see, I will do drastic things and I will regret some. I'll win some, I'll lose some. I think in Dynasty so far this year, overall trade wise, I'm up, but the Nick Chubb one's going to hurt me. I think he's going to be the number one fantasy back this year. I know that's kind of like my bold take for fantasy. I got to that a little early, but I think Nick Chubb, I mean, he's averaging ballpark number. He's got to be averaging 6 yards a carry, you know, like, because he's pretty religiously splitting snaps with Kareem Hunt, but he still is rattling off 100 yards a game. So that one's going to come back to bite me. I love what I did at receiver. Aaron and I are talking this morning. Aaron and I got all loaded up last night and played Mario Golf outside and Mario Tennis, but, he's kind of in the same boat. We're not really sure how to quantify draft picks in this league yet. So kind of what I did now, if I'm not trying to win now, what the hell am I doing? You know, so I might have made mistakes that caused me to not win based on what I did and what I didn't do. But just quantifying draft picks. I mean, I think you can look at a couple first round picks. Who's really hitting right now? Garrett Wilson is hitting. Chris Olave in our rookie draft, borderline hitting. He's a starter in our league. He's projected about 10.5 to 11 points per game, PPR, full point PPR. But other than that, nobody has really hit yet. And it's just like quantifying how important that is moving forward. You know, like I took Sky Moore in the first round.
I like that.
And I took Sky Moore in the first round. I think MVS and Juju Smith-Schuster are on the Kansas City Chiefs. I know that Sky Moore was really impressive in camp. He hasn't seen a lot of targets. There's a lot of ball to go around to a lot of different players there.
Yes.
I think he's going to work his way into a role. And then I drafted Kenneth Walker. I was waiting to draft Christian Watson, but Nick snatched him up in front of me, bastard. And then I traded away Kenny. I don't love Kenny's situation. Running back situation wise, you know, like kind of looking at the backs that were taken early. Dameon Pierce is your boy, Breece Hall from the New York Jets, and then Kenny Walker. Damian Harris has got the best situation, but it's still not great. I think Pierce. Sorry, my bad. Pierce. Not Damian Harris. But none of their situations are great. You look at the guys like Clyde Edwards-Helaire got drafted to a really good team. Yep. You know, like where he's going to be really successful. You look at some other guys. Josh Jacobs was drafted to a pretty good team. He gets a lot of hate. I don't know why they didn't pick up his fifth-year option, but you got Josh Jacobs as your number one, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
I believe in Josh Jacobs. He hasn't had a great year so far. I don't think the Raiders are playing good ball, but yeah, just quantifying what I did with on draft day, and then 3 trades at our potluck at Nick's house. I wanted to win that $10 bet. B, I mean, I was breathing down Dan's throat. I think I gave him a countdown and a deadline about 3 different times, and Dan's waiting to hear back from his guy, I was harassing him while you guys were playing euchre or poker or some shit in the garage. But no, if I don't like my team, if I can't open the app and say I feel good about this, regardless if I'm winning or losing, I'm gonna make something happen. Like last week, I just traded. I don't remember the official trade.
We'll
for
try to
Darren
pull it up here.
Do you have that? Yeah, pull that
Yep.
up. I have a trade calculator. It said I won it. It was Alvin Kamara, and you pull that up, Nick. I'm sorry.
Yep, I got it. So you received Darren Waller, tight end from the Raiders, and a rookie wide receiver, Jahan Dotson, in Washington and you sent away Alvin Kamara and this year's 2nd round rookie pick.
Yep, I had 2 second-round rookie picks. Said I won that deal. Darren Waller just signed, I believe, a 3-year extension.
Yep.
Dotson. I mean, they just paid Scary Terry. We'll see what happens. I mean, I love my boy Carson Wentz. Everybody hates him. Love my boy Carson Wentz. He's sitting on my bench in fantasy. Love him to death. Dotson has had a really good start. I think he's averaging almost 12 or 13 fantasy points per game. He's caught a touchdown already. Not a ton of volume with receptions, but I've got Dotson and I've got Sky Moore kind of sitting on my bench, like in the waiting for when they emerge to jump into that flex position for me. I love the 2 flex in our league because I'm not super deep at running back anymore after the draft because I shipped away my dear friend Nick Chubb. But that's the recap on mine. I guarantee that I've accounted for just about 50% of the trades in our league. Maybe not 50, probably about 40. I think I got five trades. And how many draft night trades I made? Yeah. Holy freaking smokes.
So I don't think you're giving yourself enough credit. And we can go back and figure this out, but I think that you're over 50%. I do. Yeah. You think you're 40%. I'd be saying like 60% that you're involved in, but there's one trade that I haven't talked to you about, but that I thought was really, really interesting.
Wait, are you trying to make a trade, Nick?
No. Just one that was not right now. Maybe we can do it off air, but but one that was processed between M and Dan. So
I initiated that trade. I was with my sister. Go ahead.
So Emily got
I agree with that, Dan. Thank you. That just came into my head. Go ahead, Nick.
Emily got Jaron, I believe his first name, Miss McKissick, this year's 2023 3rd round pick, and Tua Tagovailoa and Dan received Trey Lance, who is now out for the year with a broken ankle or whatever is going on that he's got going. This year's 2023 1st round pick and a 2024 3rd round pick. So tell me about what your thoughts are on that.
So as much as the San Francisco's 49ers front office wants Trey Lance to be the guy, they want him to be the guy. They benched the guy that made it to a Super Bowl and an NFC Championship game, and he's minutes away from going to another Super Bowl. As much as they want him to be the guy, I think Tua's situation is head over heels better than Trey Lance's future situation. Don't get me wrong. I told M on draft night at 3rd and 1 to draft Trey Lance because I believe that Trey Lance is going to be a good player. I think Tua's situation is probably apart from Josh Allen and Justin Herbert's, of course, but for those guys that have been in the league 2 or 3 years, he's probably got the best situation with Mike McDaniels, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. I don't love the Jared McKissick little throw in there for M's side of things. I think also the 1st round pick. How do you quantify 1st round picks? So I'll
dive on that later.
Yeah. I don't know. I think M's team, I've never seen a more unfortunate injury start for a fantasy football team. I've
Yes.
never seen it. Both of her starting, I think M originally was not starting Trey Lance. I could be wrong. Maybe she was. She had Keenan Allen miss 2 weeks, and he's still kind of on the fritz. Thank you, Austin Eckler, for releasing that on Twitch. His whole, I wonder how much he got fined. I can't wait till they release that. But I don't know. M's had some really tough luck. I think Elijah Mitchell got hurt. I think he was on her team. She needed help at running back. She still doesn't have help at running back, but you can't compete in this league without a quarterback that's scoring, in my opinion, 23 to 24 points per game. I know projections are where they're at, 20, 19, 21, but I truly don't believe that you're going to be able to compete with a quarterback in this dynasty league that's not getting you 23 to 25 points per game. You're not going to win this league. Yeah. So I understand why she did it. She was a little desperate. I told her that she needs to go get Tua after I saw 6 touchdowns. 3 of them were in the fourth quarter. Yes, I understand, but he was still, if you would have put a mediocre fourth quarter in there without him throwing a touchdown pass, he probably would have had 305 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. That's still getting you that 23 to 26 points. So what do you think, Nick?
So I actually liked it on both sides. It made sense to me on both sides.
Who does Dan start at quarterback right now, Nick? Do you mind?
Aaron Rodgers. So okay. he had the ability to shop around Tua. So that's why I thought it made sense for the both of them. And M, I think, has a shot at making the playoffs. And all you got to do is make it to the big dance, baby, and then anything can happen.
6 teams in the playoffs, correct, Nick? 6.
Yeah. Yep. And then, so I think she's got a legitimate shot at that. So, but I think it was smart smart for her, because she's going to have a shot to make that late push. And it doesn't matter if you're the 1 seed or the 6 seed in fantasy. No, man. And anything can happen.
I think the biggest driving force is nobody wants to lose the toilet bowl year 1. Yeah. Nobody wants to have to buy the beer for the draft party next year 1. That'll go down as just an infamous L. If that were to happen to me, which
you and I aren't starting off very good.
I love my team. I'm sitting at 0-2. I feel like I'm the 5th best team in the league, and I'm sitting brutally at 0-2. Yep. If you don't love your team, why are you doing it? So yep. I think both parties, I can see them coming out on top with that. I think Dan sets himself up really well for the future, especially with an aging Aaron Rodgers and an ailing receiving core. Sammy Watkins just went on the IR this morning. I don't know what massive piece he's going to be, but I hope to see a little bit more targets for Christian Watson then. But I think both of I do like what you said there, that they both are set up well for the future.
Because like you said before, the Niners want Trey Lance to be in the game in the worst way. And poor Jimmy G it's just falling into his lap, every single time. But good for him in that regard. But yeah, they believe in Trey Lance, and his athleticism is going to take him pretty far in this league, I believe. Yeah. And Dan has that ability to just stash Trey Lance for the year, and then he gained a 1st round pick. So, and well, then I guess we'll talk about these picks, because you brought it up a couple times.
Picks, baby.
Okay, excuse me. My assistant Obi brought me a Bloody Mary. Thank you, Obi.
Damn, Obi, you got
wonderful
hands,
assistant. Look at that. Pickle.
Take a look at that pickle and all. Is there cheese in there?
No, I don't see any cheese.
Damn,
but still, cheese. I'll take it.
Obi, what are you doing, brother?
What a great, wonderful boy.
Okay, so let's talk picks, Nick. Let's talk picks.
So are you, when you were talking before, that you weren't sure? So was that your stance, that you're kind of just waiting to see how this all plays out on the picks, or what's your thought?
I honestly think that it's maybe going to take Some of us might have a really good grasp on it. I've never done a dynasty. I mean, Aaron, my good buddy, he was in a dynasty basketball league, I've never been in a dynasty league of any sorts. So I understand. I've had a fantasy football team where I've had a keeper. Okay. So I've had a keeper, but I think it's going to take me 2 drafts to really develop my overall thought process and how to value these picks. You're looking at, I watch a shitload of college football. I almost love college football as much as I love the NFL, so I know who's going to be drafted, where they're going to be drafted. They say historically, this previous draft that we just had was one of the lowest talent classes, apart from receiver, that they've had in probably the last, I can't tell you, I can't quantify how long it's been. But next year, it's really quarterback heavy. There are going to be some solid running backs taken. I know there are going to be some solid running backs taken in 2024 as well.
Braylon
Allen. Holy smokes. Fondy alum. Just watch Fondy lose.
Did they?
Kakana kicked a field goal last night with 55 seconds left, and the Cardinals lost. So that freaking sucked. But I think it's going to take time for me to kind of understand how it works. On draft night, I didn't believe in the picks at all. I didn't believe in the rookie picks at all. I shipped my first round in 2023. I shipped a second round in 2022. I shipped a lot of picks.
You said I was the first rounder around to M. Or maybe you got one in return.
So,
I'm pretty sure you
said
one.
I traded up into the first round of our draft. So I had 2 first-round draft picks this year where I took Derrick Henry and Nick Chubb. I think I took Derrick Henry at 6, Nick Chubb at 8. I don't know exactly where the picks were, but I had 2 first-round draft picks. So I know that I definitely traded. You are correct. I did with my wheeling and dealing. I did get one of my picks. I got my first-round pick for 2023 back.
Yep.
Hopefully Dan
that's right.
shits the bed where that's the first overall pick. Sorry, Dan. Love you, brother. I'm going to beat you this week. Just kind of quantifying, it's all based off finish. It's not going to happen. He says, hilarious. And it's all based on team's finish, if you're swapping picks with people, it's all based on where the team finishes. That determines where the draft pick is going to be. Thank you, Kai Hackbart and Aaron Bros for showing me this trade emulator that they originally were hiding from me for the first 6 months of our dynasty. They're both dicks.
I can't believe that it took you that long to figure that one out, dude.
Man, Nick, I'm not looking for resources when I'm making trades, baby. Just like what Aaron said, you got to do what feels right. So I did what felt right, and now I'm looking at it. So this trade emulator, not emulator, I'm sorry, this trade calculator. It really values picks.
Yes, it
First
does.
round picks are like the law. Dan sent me over a trade the other day. Derrick Henry, I got a little emotional on Sunday and put Derrick Henry on the trade block. And Dan sent me over a pick, a trade that actually calculated out as fair. But if I were to accept that trade, I'd have to jump off the top of my house. So, which is not something that I want to do. So I can't do that. Just valuing these picks. I don't really know. We'll see where things have panned out. Running back this year, every couple of years you get that guy that's that guy as a rookie, and we haven't had that yet. So it's really banking on the future and investing in the future. We shall see, that's really all I can say. What do you think about picks, Nick? I know that you were valuing them quite high right away. How many did you draft? 4 times in our rookie draft this year? Did you have 4 picks?
I did. I had 2 firsts and 2 thirds.
2 firsts and 2 thirds.
Actually, that might be wrong.
You definitely had 4 picks, though.
I did. Is it 2 seconds or 2 thirds?
No,
regardless.
you definitely had 2 firsts because you took Garrett Wilson and you took Christian Watson. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell you what these first round picks are all about. Gold, baby.
Money.
It's fucking gold. And right now it might not matter because where I think the majority of the people in our league are like, okay, yeah, I want to, because they're so used to redraft leagues or just a keeper league where they only get to keep one guy.
Yep.
You don't understand that what you got this year in the draft is what you have going forward, unless you make trades.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, you're correct.
So it may not matter this year. It may not matter next year. It may not even matter in year 3, but by year 4, I promise you that those rookie picks are going to be essential, because
is this like a Kai Hackbar promise that J.K. Dobbins is going to be a top 10 fantasy back this year? That kind of promise?
No. This is a
real
100%.
This is a real promise.
Yes, okay. Because you're talking about Derrick Henry, who I think is still going to have a solid year. Had a rough start, but how old is he? He's 28 years old. How long do running backs last? Till they're about 30, 31.
Yeah,
you need younger guys to come in. Just imagine now, and I was talking with Dan and John about this. Imagine being the guy that drafted Justin Jefferson with his rookie pick, and then he goes off in year 1 as a rookie. He's a clear number 1 wide receiver for the next 10 years.
Yeah, I mean,
got him in a rookie.
I understand your logic. I think the one thing that steers me in a little bit the other direction than you're at is I could make fucking 15 trades this year. Yeah, I could make 12 next year. Derrick Henry might not be, my team might look completely different tomorrow. Who the frick knows? So I think the way that I view fantasy football is a little bit different. A lot of people are a lot more conservative than I am. I'm willing to live and die week by week by the decisions that I make when I get home from work at 10:30 on a Wednesday night. So I live and die by this. I mean, last year I lost in Cody's league. I lost Darren Brose in the finals by 0.6 points. Nick Chubb needed 6 more fucking rushing yards, and my wife and I were sitting on Monday night. I actually took off early to watch that game. And we were sitting on Monday night. And speaking of the devil, Aaron's calling me. And I lost, and I threw my phone across the living room. And she said, "You're a fucking crazy person." I was just like, what if we're not doing this to drive ourselves crazy a little bit, why are we doing it? You know, I might be a little bit more willing than other people to go a little crazier because I'm a little bit less conservative. So, yeah, I mean, I love your logic of how you've approached the draft, the rookie draft. I think, I mean, I really love it. I think it's something that's super cool that we get together as a league every single year, right around the same time, and just get together and have a big party. And I know the rookie draft isn't going to take an astronomically a large amount of time, but it's a great way to get together. It's a great way to reshape your team. It's a great way to strike gold or strike out, so I think that that's really cool.
Yeah. All right. Well, before we go down another rabbit hole, because we do that when we're talking sports, us guys. I know it happens.
Super good game, by the way. Michigan, number 4, Michigan 17, 3-0. They're up 17-13 on Maryland. Third quarter just went over. Super good football game.
All right. So I want to know this last week in week 2, who would you say that it was the player, a fantasy player of the week in week 2?
I think it's got to be Tyreek Hill. I had him. I can't imagine. I mean, I think, you could argue Jalen Waddle. Tyreek had more points. He had more receptions, same amount of touchdowns, more yards. Tua Tagovailoa had a great week. Lamar Jackson had a great week. I don't think you can. I think you can argue. Obviously, there's always some sort of discussion to be had, but I think Tyreek Hill.
Okay. Yeah, that's really fair. I tried to go away from the obvious, and Tyreek Hill or Lamar Jackson, maybe even Waddle, you could say, was the obvious. And I'm going to go with a guy that was on my team as well as week 1, but a guy that I didn't even start, was on the bench.
Oh,
send it over, Dan. Garrett Wilson.
30. I always like to look at it like I thought Tyreek Hill was my MVP right away because I thought he won me the week.
Yep.
You know, like Nick, if you would have started Garrett Wilson, would you have won?
Yes.
There you go. You know.
Yep.
So.
Yep. I kind of alluded to this earlier, but Garrett Wilson is the number one guy in New York, and you have to, whether I had him on the bench or not, this is a rookie in his second career game who had 14 targets. He caught the game-winning touchdown with 22 seconds to go, and he had a coming out party. If people don't know about Garrett Wilson, they didn't know about him before week 2, they do now. And I'd be willing to bet in non-dynasty leagues where rookies aren't as valuable, I'd be willing to bet he was probably the number one guy people were picking up on waiver claims this year on just redraft leagues.
I think I would really love, I know we're not going to have time to crunch this. How many points did Derek Wilson get in the last minute and 55 seconds of that game? You know,
Garrett Wilson. Well, you know, I know what's even more impressive about that stat line. Did he catch every ball? No, but he had the 14 targets and the 8 receptions. He went out briefly in that game with an injury. They took him back to the locker room. So, and he still performed. So I'm a big believer in the guy, and I was really excited to have the chance to take him in at 5th overall in our dynasty league. And there was definitely, I didn't really agree with how Breece Hall going 1 made sense. Drake London, I think, no, take that back. Bros took
Treylon Burks, the fatty.
Yeah, I know. That one blew my mind a little bit.
Aaron was talking about Treylon Burks for weeks.
Really?
Before the rookie. Weeks. Treylon Burks.
But you know, he knew that he had the pick at the whatever wide receiver he wanted, because it's pretty obvious that Breece Hall was going. And then I believe it went Drake London 3, and
that's a dog.
I think, and I might have these mixed up, but I'm pretty sure Dan was at 4 and took Chris Olave, who I think is going to be a really solid player too.
Chris is going to be a great player. I hope he lays an egg this week, but
yeah. But I was really high on Garrett Wilson, and if I ranking those receivers, I think I would have went Drake London, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, and then Burks, and actually some other guys ahead of Burks personally, but that's besides the point. So, what about week 3? Who you got for week 3? What predictions on who's going to be the guy to watch in fantasy this week?
I have to go. Where is he? I have to go with my boy. Everybody, take a look. Derrick Henry. It's going to be his coming out party, baby. He is so due. I think if you would look at the last 4 years and you would look at his rushing output in 2 games, this would easily be the lowest rushing output in 2 consecutive games. I know that he's playing against a tough defense this week in the a tough defensive front in the Las Vegas Raiders, but I think Derrick, he needs to go. I did have Jamar Chase for his coming out party as well. I'm split. I texted you Jamar Chase earlier. I'll still have Jamar on there, which is okay. Jamar's due. Joe Burrow's due. That offense is due. I expect him to catch 2 deep balls this week, and I think he's going to take 1 for a touchdown. You know, like he needs. They can't go 0-3.
No.
You know, so that's a big thing, and they're going to have to rely on Jamar to create separation and get downfield. I like your pick right there is Jonathan Taylor.
Yes, and
another guy that's due. He's due.
Yeah, we'll talk briefly on that Chiefs Colts game, but the Colts are one of the biggest disappointments this year. I think
Matt Ryan sucks, man.
On top of the Bengals, but I think this week that the Colts are gonna go back to their roots, and I think they've been relying a little bit too much on Matt Ryan. I think they expected more, but they're going to go back and hand the ball off to Taylor.
I think Matt Ryan
was a 30.
Matt Ryan was a significant downgrade from Carson Wentz. I understand that Carson Wentz threw the season away late in the year for them. They were in the position to make the playoffs. They lost to the Jags week 17. I believe it was the Jags. He blew it, but I believe Matt Ryan was a significant downgrade.
Yeah, I think the Colts they're gonna hand the ball off to Taylor close to 30 times to get the ball in his hands because he gives them the best chance to win.
The Colts might be in play for one of these top 2 quarterbacks. If they start out slow, they might go tank mode for CJ Stroud or Bryce Young. They might. I could really see them doing that. They have not invested in a quarterback in the draft since Andrew Luck. I know what happened there. Andrew wanted to hang it up early. More power to him. Uses brilliant Stanford brain, whatever the hell he's doing. But I think they're gonna. I agree with you. I think they're gonna let it ride with Jonathan Taylor. But I think the Colts are gonna be in play for one of those top rookie quarterbacks.
Yeah, I had that in my notes the question I wrote down is how bad is Indy? And I think they're pretty bad.
Were they out? Michael Pittman did not play last week, or
no,
did
he did not. Neither did.
I mean that doesn't help their cause either.
Neither did Alec Pierce, and they're pretty high on him out of Cincinnati. But yeah, no, I agree. It didn't help. But this week, the Chiefs don't have the best run defense, and I think Jonathan Taylor is going to eat them up. So, and that actually is going to kind of transition over into another thing that I wanted to talk about is what do you got for an upset this week?
Oh shit! What did I put down? Give me this. I got this.
Hold on, I got you.
It's right. Oh, I got Detroit over the Vikings. I don't really think it's an upset. I think they're like maybe 2.5 or 3-point dogs for Minnesota. Yeah, they're 6.5 point dogs. Yeah. Holy smokes. I thought Minnesota was really good after week 1. I know the Packers are habitually bad. Week 1, under Matt LaFleur, I'm not sure why. Last year was awful. This year was awful. I don't know. I love Kirk Cousins. I think he's a top.
Don't do it.
He's a top 10. He's the 10th best quarterback in the NFL.
No.
Kirk Cousins is the 10th best quarterback in the NFL. He's not going to lose you football games. He did not lose them the football game last week. He couldn't get the ball to Justin Jefferson. Dalvin Cook was very unproductive. They need to get the ball to Adam Thielen more. He's going to go down as probably the 4th best receiver in Vikings history behind Randy Moss, Justin Jefferson, and Chris Carter. So Adam Thielen's really good. He's 31 or 32, but they need to get him the ball. But I do think Detroit, they've done everything the right way. I think they're the New York Jets with a better running back and a veteran quarterback that can push the ball down the field more than Joe Flacco and Zach Wilson. I think they drafted the right way. I think they have the right coach. I think all their draft capital they've hit. DeAndre Swift, I think he's incredible. I'd like to see them get him the ball even more. But Amon-Ra St. Brown, so good. TJ Hawkinson, so good. DJ Chark is there. I don't know how I feel about DJ Chark, but it's another person to throw the ball to. Jamal Williams right there. I got the Lions. Lions.
Hey, and while you're talking about those weapons they have in Detroit, to quote our chat, don't forget about Jameson Williams. Wait until that guy gets healthy, dude.
Yep,
that's going to be scary too.
Torn ACL last year for Alabama. He's going to come back, and that boy's probably going to bomb off.
Yeah,
I've always liked Jared Goff. I think the year that they won that they lost did they lose in the Super Bowl with Jared Goff?
Yes. Yeah, against the Patriots.
I think he threw like 28 touchdowns and like 13 or 14 interceptions. Don't quote me on those numbers. But
that's what we have the corrections segment for, which apparently I'm perfect through 2 weeks because no one's ever texted me any corrections yet.
I'm going to make sure that we're not perfect, and I'm going to say he was 28 touchdowns and 14 interceptions. Okay,
all right.
So that you quote me on that. Who's our stat guy? Let him know that I'm coming.
All right.
For
all right.
But no, I feel the Detroit Lions have done everything right. if we don't get our quarterback situation right, if Aaron Rodgers leaves us in the next 2 years, if we
He's
don't
not
get
going
it
to.
right, the Detroit Lions are going to pass us in the division.
Yeah, I think they're. I think Bo and I talked about that a little bit in the first week that he wasn't a huge believer. He didn't think that Dan Campbell was necessarily the answer, but at the same time, like you said, they're building a really, really good foundation. And as long as we have Aaron Rodgers on the Green Bay Packers, it's still going to be our division to lose, but the Detroit Lions are going to be the up and coming team to deal with for the future in the next 10, 15 years. But
and you've got the Dallas Cowboys, huh?
I do. Yeah. They're 2.5-point dogs against the Giants. I think the Giants have a lot of work to do, but I think Vegas is just running this hype train right now in New York.
The Giants are favored by 2.5.
Yes. Yeah. So
I mean, that seems like a no-brainer too.
Yep. And I know it's only a 2.5-point spread, and I know you got a little more, you got some more points to play with here, but still, I mean, ideally when we say upset, I'm thinking like who's going to win the game. Like if you're looking at, do you think the Lions are going to win the game, or I think the Cowboys are going to pull this off? They looked pretty good. Cooper Rush looked pretty good against Cincinnati last week.
Daniel Jones is atrocious.
Yes, he is.
My fantasy football matchup is going to come down to Saquon playing on Monday night. Dan, I'm sorry. He's going to lay an egg. I got Dallas to cover.
Yeah. So I see you have the Chiefs, or I'm sorry.
And then I got the Chargers. I wasn't thinking about Justin Herbert's health status. They got Easton Stick at their backup, North Dakota State alum. He's going to be nothing but a game facilitator. That game's just going to be based on Justin Herbert's health. I literally have in my notes that I was looking over this morning on my phone when I was drinking my first cup of coffee. I liked the Kansas City Chiefs as well. I mean, I think they're a lock over the Indianapolis Colts. I think they'll let Jonathan Taylor run crazy, but they are too good, and the Colts right now look too bad.
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth. Yeah, I agree 100%. What about the Packers? What do you think the Packers are going to do this week?
No Mike Williams. No Mike Evans. Lenny Fournette's probably going to go crazy.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think it's all going to come down to what happens. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers inside linebackers. It's
Devin White, and then
Devin White and Levante David.
Correct.
Those guys cover a lot of field.
Yes.
We're going to need to keep. I kind of like what we did with Aaron Jones running the route tree and AJ Dillon on the field at the same time. I kind of like what we did there. But what's the spread on that? Do we know?
Well, I think those numbers that are, I'm going to call him the executive media producer. So our EMP put on, I believe that was on the ESPN Pick'em League. It might have changed in Vegas since
Tampa Bay is favored by 1.
Okay, so that's changed because I believe it was 2.5. The Packers were 2.5-point dogs, but
I think the Packers will win that football game.
I think they have a really legitimate chance to. And I think the Mike Evans thing deal with him being out a game that the spread changed a lot on that one.
And Julio isn't overly healthy either. So
no, I think he might be out.
Yeah. So what are they looking at? Scotty Miller, Perriman.
Dude, they picked up Cole Beasley in the week off the street, pulled him off the street.
Yeah, Cole's probably somewhere. He probably lives in Buffalo, and he's probably been drinking with the Bills Mafia, jumping on tables the past 3 weeks. Cole Beasley's going to come in and not be a factor.
Yeah, I don't
think
maybe
so.
A couple catches, but nothing that he's not going to tear us apart.
I think if Tampa Bay is going to win that game, Lenny Fournette's going to have to go off.
Yep, and he very well could.
Yep, I think our rush defense right now is our biggest thing that we're looking at here. But go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, did you see that drive that the Bears are running on last Sunday night? That drive that the Bears are running right down the field.
Yep.
Did you see where our second best defensive player was? Standing on the fucking sidelines, Kenny Clark. wasn't on the field. Why was he not on the field for every snap during that drive? He didn't look gassed. I mean, when I saw him standing there on the sideline, he looked like he was ready to go back in. I don't understand why they allowed that to happen. I mean, I know we were winning the football game, but I don't agree with that at all.
That's bizarre. That is bizarre.
Yeah. So, well, Stu, I think this was hey, dude, I could do this all day. I really could.
I probably could too, actually.
I mean, have a couple beers and talk football as long as we have a bathroom break in there. I think I could do this all day, but
yeah,
hey, thank you for joining me today. And hopefully we're gonna do some.
I got
one more thing.
Nick,
yeah, we got one more segment. We got one more.
Media man, do you have this pulled up or is this something? Oh, he's got it, baby. Okay. Nick, we are doing Guess a Player, baby. Okay, so this is a new segment that I texted Nick and our media man behind the scenes about today. I think this is really cool. Just adds a little bit of aspect. I just picked 4 players, 2 that have significantly underachieved and 2 that are looking really good and that people aren't necessarily giving as much praise as possible. So Nick, we're going to start you in the top left corner with 26 carries, 102 yards, 2 receptions, and for 14 yards. Hence, this running back received a lot of late camp hype and flew under the ADP rankings through the preseason. Nick Diltz, who are we here?
Oh, this is a tough one.
We're going to give you 5 seconds just so we can keep the ball rolling.
Okay.
2, 3.
I'm going to say this is going to be wrong, but Christian McCaffrey.
You hold him so close to your heart. It is Damian Pierce, Nick.
What?
Oh boy.
I must have stopped
stats.
I must not have looked at. Damn, dude. I should have. Oh, wow.
For the record, to all of our listeners, Nick is infatuated with this young man for the Houston Texans. If they had my boy Deshaun Watson under center, maybe they'd give him a little space to run the ball. But they don't.
What are you? Is this what they've been doing for the season? So those stats are what his season stats.
His season stats, yep.
So that's probably why I was thrown off. I was thinking this was just a week 2. Okay, is that how this is going to go?
Season stats.
Is it season stats?
Season stats. Okay, we're going down to the bottom left corner now. Bottom left. Oh, Media Man wants top right. I'm sorry. Media Man wants top right. Okay, 15 receptions, 224 yards. This receiver is in his first season with one of this year's hottest teams. Nick Diltz, you are on the clock.
So this is season stats, I'm assuming then again.
Season stats. They played 2 games.
No touchdowns.
No touchdowns. This receiver has looked really good.
Oh, I know this one.
All right, go ahead.
Never mind. No, because he just scored a touchdown.
This receiver has looked really good. Nobody's talking about him. I think I'll give you a little hint. I think this team. Oh, wait, I might have sent you over that hint. I think this team is going to get the number 1 overall seed in the NFC.
Really? Oh, AJ Brown?
This is AJ Brown.
Yep.
Okay. Very good. Very good. Very good. I think the Eagles are going to have the number 1 seed in the NFC. All right. Bottom left. Somebody that's significantly underachieved. 4 receptions, 38 yards, 0 touchdowns. This is a second-year player, was drafted in the 3rd round of our league.
In the 3rd round of
can't go back to the draft board this quickly. 5 seconds.
Is it a tight end? Can you tell me that? It is a tight end. This is after 2 weeks. Okay.
This should be a cupcake.
Dude, why? I know.
But apparently this gentleman is not worried about his lack of production, and the front office is not either.
Oh, I know. Dude, Kyle Pitts.
Kyle Pitts is correct.
Yes.
Very good. Very good. See, this is a fun segment. Okay. Bottom right here, 13 receptions, 160 yards, 1 touchdown. This rookie wide receiver was a first-round pick and is playing on an underwhelming team.
Oh, shit. This is
I personally think that this is going to be the best receiver in this rookie class.
Okay. Drake London.
You are correct. Very good.
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
Drake London is
All
going to
right.
be the guy. I
3
think
out of
he's going to be
4.
the guy.
3 out of 4 is pretty good.
3 out of 4 is very good. Very good.
Okay, so we got some bold predictions here. We're
All
gonna
right.
have myself, our EMP, and Dan and Stu. So, the AFC West will send 3 teams to the playoffs. This was my last week's bold prediction.
Okay.
You know, and I still, after seeing how Denver's playing out, that might not
They
not be
suck.
the case.
Russell
they're
Wilson's
gonna-
not good.
Yeah, yep. And then Dan's was 3 quarterbacks were passed for 50 plus touchdowns, and with Patrick Mahomes being one of them. And yours, 2022 week 3 bold predictions too. I'll let you take this one.
Nick Chubb will finish as the #1 fantasy back this season, and the Philadelphia Eagles were on the #1 seed in the NFC.
Damn. Well, I'm not throwing that out the window. I think those could be legit. Absolutely.
Unfortunately, I think I traded away the #1 fantasy back this year. So that's how I feel about that right there. That's how I feel about that.
So, well, again, thank you so much for jumping on. This was a blast.
I had a good time.
I think we did about an hour and 10 minutes here, and it felt like it was 15. And
Yep.
like I said, like we both said, we could probably do this all day long.
Yep, we did good.
I don't think
We
we
did
can
good.
keep. I don't think we can keep people's attentions that long. You know what year we live in 2022. But thank
Very
you
true.
again.
Yep.
Hopefully I will see you very soon. I'll get back to you about the food truck thing here. Maybe we'll
Awesome.
join you. But I also want to
sounds
send a
great.
big shout out to Dan and our
Thank you,
media
Dan.
producer over there. You're doing a great job, and it's making my life so much easier.
Yep.
And I want to thank my wonderful assistant Obi for bringing over that Bloody Mary for me in the middle of this podcast. But
And one last conclusion for the week. Dan,
Yeah.
you're going to eat my damn dust this weekend, baby. Eat my dust. Let's go,
There he is.
baby.
There
You're
he is.
done. Done.
All right.
51 to 49% favored. You guys have a good weekend, okay? Enjoy the football.
Yep. You too. Take care.
Okay. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.